Non-stop rock talk with Tyson Frieden. Rob Wylde, welcome to Non-Stop Rock Talk. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. How is the weather over in England these days?
Not very good. It's never very good over here. It's pretty miserable, to be honest with you. It's very cold, very wet, very grey, very dreary. Just typical English weather, mate, you know?
Right on. That's kind of the same as here, to be honest with you. Right now, we're kind of going into our winter, obviously. So, it snowed today. So,
we've not got any snow yet, but I think it's on its way because it's getting pretty cold over here at the minute.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so as we start off, before we go into the band, into Midnite City, I'd like to ask about your music endeavors. Over the years, I mean, I followed you on Facebook. You played with a number of bands. Can you kind of give me an overview of all that stuff, if you would?
Yeah. I mean, starting from, how far are we going back? Because I could be here for quite a while. But,
well, that's up to you. Like wherever you want to start. I mean, just kind of like your musical journey is fine by me. I mean, it kind of gives my listeners an idea of everything that you've done. I mean, you don't have to go too far back. I kind of leave that up to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back, let's say, like the 15 years, for example, I was in a band called Teenage Casket Company, which was kind of like a power pop type of thing, kind of a Cheap Trick type of band. And I had that band. That band was together for like 13 years. We released about 5 albums with that band. And that was great. You know, had a lot of fun with that. Did that for a while, and then. In 2007, I moved over to the States and lived out in Boston for a couple of years.
Oh.
Had a band out there called Sins of America. Put an album out with those guys and toured all over the States. And then, God, I've done so much stuff. You know, I played with Stevie James for a short amount of time. Played with Vega for a short amount of time. Then obviously Tigertailz, and then that led on to Midnite City, which is the band I put together in 2017. So that's a short little kind of excerpt from my past. So yeah.
Wow, that's a lot, and it's such a
it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot in a short amount of time. There's a lot going on, and I just like to keep busy, you know. I'm kind of not doing anything. I got a little bit loopy, so I got to keep active and got to keep productive, you know.
Yeah, that's good. And I do also seem to recall you were doing a Poison tribute band as well.
Yeah, I still do that actually. That was just kind of like a fun thing that I put together. I was actually initially put it together when I was in the States. But we never actually got out and played, and then I came back to the UK, and then I spoke to the bass player from my band Teenage Casket Company, and he was really into doing that Poison thing as well. So we still do that. A completely different lineup. I'm the only guy left. Everybody else bailed on it, but yeah, it's cool. You know, I mean, there's the tribute thing over here is quite big. And there's no Poison tributes over here, so we're like the only Poison tribute in Europe. So it's kind of just a fun thing for, it's just, it pays well, and it's just a kind of a fun side thing, as well as obviously all the original stuff I do. So, yeah, it's a bit of fun. I mean, I grew up on Poison, so it was a no-brainer, really,
That's cool. I mean, I used to be in a Bon Jovi tribute, so I can kind of, I
Cool.
realize how much. Yeah. I was in that. I did that for 8 years. I played guitar and wore a wig. Of course,
Nice.
and that band's still going. They're still out playing. But I occasionally go and fill in with them when they need me. So, which is fun.
Cool.
I mean, you mentioned the whole tribute thing over there. I mean, it sounds like it's a little bit different there than it is here, because in Canada it seems to be the bands are still out there, but it's just not, the numbers just aren't what they used to be, unfortunately.
That's weird. I mean, over here it's kind of the opposite. I mean, I'm don't get me wrong. I'm really not into the tribute. The tribute thing is something I swore I'd never do, but I think everybody does.
Me
but
too.
then when you see the money that you can make from doing it, it's a nice little earn of on top of everything else that you do as well. So, but over here, I mean, it's just in any venue around the UK. I mean, that's literally all it is just tribute bands. I mean, there's some tributes of some ridiculous bands that weren't even popular. Sold about 3 albums, you know what I mean? There's some bands that are really scraping the barrel, you kind of look and think, how can there possibly be a tribute to this band, who never did anything, so yeah, it's still a big deal over here.
That's pretty cool. And I mean, with Poison, for instance, was Poison a big draw in the UK when they were at the prominent, like when they were popular?
It was a weird thing because over here in the UK, I mean, we obviously didn't have MTV. We had MTV Europe, but MTV Europe was a very different thing to the MTV, in America. That basically showed nothing but hair metal videos 24 hours a day. So there was none of that going on in the UK. So the only bands really that I, as a kid, initially was aware of was bands who were charting over here in the UK.
Yeah.
So they were kind of, Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Kiss, and Poison were actually one of those bands. They had a couple of really big hits over here, sort of 88, 89, and then the Flesh and Blood album was pretty big over here.
That's great.
And they were a big band, but the problem with Poison was they never actually toured over here properly. They came over, they did the Monsters of Rock Festival, Donington in 1990, and then they did, I think they did like a couple of warm-up shows in clubs, and then the next time, the only time Poison ever toured over here was actually on the Native Tongue tour when Richard Kotzen was in the band.
Love that album.
And they haven't been back since. So
wow.
It's kind of weird because, and again, that's kind of a little bit of a niche market because there's still a lot of fans that, if you talk about 80s rock, people talk about Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses. And Poison's always in with those bands as well. And seeing as they never play over here, and I don't think they ever will play over here, it's kind of like a cool thing for us because people come out and it's kind of like, well, we're not going to get to see the real thing, so this is sort of the next best thing, So that's kind of what we kind of market the band and how we market the band, I should say. Yeah,
that's very cool. And have you ever gotten to see Poison?
Yeah, I actually I saw them on the Native Tongue tour in
you did? Wow.
93.
That's
but that
cool.
wasn't kind of really my deal really because to me it was all about the classics.
Yeah.
Original lineup with CC. But I was lucky enough to see them a couple of times when I lived out in the States.
Cool.
Around sort of 2007, 2008 time. So they were great. I mean,
I've seen.
They're just so much fun. Yeah, they're just so much fun to.
So much energy.
So much energy. Not the best musicians in the world, but it doesn't matter. they're great, you know, and yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you ever saw my favorite quote for Bobby Dahl was on Behind the Music, the VH1 special, and he says point blank, he says, you know what? I didn't set out to be a musician. I set out to be a rock star. That's
a classic quote. Yeah, exactly.
That's always stuck with me. I always thought that was the coolest. I was like, you know what? You're right. It's so true.
They were great, and you know the thing with Poison was, I mean, they just wrote great songs, great fun, catchy songs, and you know, like I say, just such a good time. It's impossible to not have a good time at a Poison show. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very cool.
Exactly. Now, before we get into Midnite City, which seems to be kind of your main focus right now, what is going on with Tigertailz? I mean, I've been a fan of that band for many years, and it's funny because back in the day, I remember seeing advertisements of Jay Pepper and Pepsi Tate in a magazine ad, like I think it was for like guitars or something. For years, I never was able to find any of the material in North America, like in Canada. I never saw an album on the shelves or anything. So it wasn't until the early 2000s when eBay came out that I went and tracked down the albums. So and then I became like a huge fan. So I'm kind of curious about where Tigertailz is at right now.
Well, a good question. We're not actually doing anything at the minute. I mean, I've actually been in Tigertailz for next year. It'll be 9 years. I've actually been in the band, so I've been in the band a long time. And initially, you know, the first few years, really up until about 2 years ago, we were busy. You know, we were going out playing a lot. We went out to Europe a bunch of times. Did a bunch of UK tours. Put out an EP, and then a few years ago, I think it was 2016, we put out the Blast album, which was the last Tigertailz album as of right now. And you know, we got out and did in 2014 we did the Kiss Cruise, which was amazing. You know, went out to the States and played on that, which was unbelievable. And you know, we were just always playing, you know, huge festivals. You know, like Bang Your Head Festival in Germany and some really cool stuff. And then a couple of years ago, I know Jay's got some issues with his hearing at the minute. I think like most musicians, I mean, I've got problems. It's just years and years of abuse, you know, of 20 plus years of just loud music. And I know he had some issues with his hearing, and we had to, we did actually have a show, I think it was for, last year, which we had to cancel, a big festival over here in the UK, and we had to cancel that. So not much going on. I mean, I actually spoke to Jay probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and we did actually talk about possibly writing some stuff together, but I haven't heard from him since. So we do have 2 shows next year, which have been sort of rescheduled from this year, 2 festival shows out here. Which are, as of right now, they're going ahead. But as of, you know, the future, I don't really know. I think the thing is really with Tigertailz is, you know, it's very much, you know, it's Jay Pepper's band, and it's his thing, and he calls the shots, basically. So when he wants to do something, then, you know, I'm more than up for doing it. But it's kind of the ball's in his court, really, as to kind of as and when we do stuff, you know. But I'm glad you like the band. I do know you were talking about the albums not being available. I do know through being in the band that Young and Crazy, the first album, was the only album that was actually officially released in the States.
Wow.
So yeah, I think it was released on, I think it's a label called Combat, which is more of a I think it was more of a like a kind of a thrash label, I think.
It is. It totally is. Dave Ellefson, actually, I believe he's kind of taken over that label now. So
right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I know the first one came out on Combat, and then Berserk, to my knowledge, was never released in the States. Because it's funny, when I was playing in my band stateside, Sins of America, they were all big fans of Tigertailz, and they all had the Young and Crazy album, but they knew nothing about, you know, Love Bomb Baby, and which was a I mean, that album was huge
Love
over
Bomb
here
Baby,
in
such
the
a great
UK.
song.
Yeah.
Noise
But
Level
they
Critical.
did Noise Level Critical and all that, and,
Yeah.
and these guys were like, well, we never heard that album, and it was only then that I realised that, you know, that Berserk was never released in the States, which is a shame because, some interesting stories actually, just going off on a little bit of a tangent,
okay.
regarding the Tailz stuff was, Jay will probably tell his story a little bit better, but I remember him telling me this story when I first joined the band about just before they released the Berserk album. They did actually a showcase for, I think it was MCA Records. Some A&R guy came over from the States, and it was kind of almost like a done deal that, you know, the label was going to sign them and they were going to make them the next Motley Crue or whatever. And apparently, it all was on the table. This is also in Ace Fincham's book as well. I don't know whether you've read that.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, he's got a book out.
I didn't even know that. I'm going to have to hunt that down. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, and he'll like me giving the book a plug as well. So
yeah,
Ace can pay me for that. But he's got a book out. If you look on, I think it's on Amazon. You know, it's just you can't miss it. It's got bright pink cover and
cool.
But anyway, there's stories in his book as well. That so it's A&R. Actually, I think it was a girl, a girl came over and they showcased and she went back to the States. It was all kind of going to happen, and everything was looking great. And then apparently they decided not to sign Tigertailz, and instead they went and signed Pretty Boy Floyd.
No way! Wow.
Yeah. So and you know, they did the Leather Boys
album.
With
Electric Toys. Yeah.
So I don't think Jay Pepper's too happy about that.
No.
So they kind of got ditched in favor of Pretty Boy Floyd. So there's a little insight for you.
That's pretty cool. That's a cool story, and that's something I had no idea of. You know what? I believe Young and Crazy. I have from Europe. It's on Music for Nations. My copy of Berserk is on Music for Nations. I actually have the Wasbones original disc too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, Music for Nations was, again, over here, I mean, it was an independent label, but it was a big label, you know. I mean, the first Poison album was on Music for Nations, and Stryper. Yeah. I think some of the early Metallica stuff might have been, or Megadeth, one of those bands. It was a good sized indie label to be on, and you know, they did great for Tigertailz over here. You know, unfortunately, you know, they never really got a push anywhere else. But in the UK, they did great.
I mean, it's funny. I had bought a copy of Berserk, and this is funny that you mentioned about the States. I was down in the States, and I was like close to Buffalo, and I went into this CD shop, and I found another copy of Berserk, and I had already had it, but I have a good buddy of mine who's a big fan of, you know, the 80s stuff like myself. So I picked it up and I bought it and I brought it home to him. And I was like, here, man, check this band out. I really like them. I think you'll dig this. A little while later, he's like, oh my God. He goes, that Love Bomb Baby song that song is amazing. So he really dug it, and he never even heard of the band, which was cool. So there are some of us in North America, like, you know, you mentioned.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we it was quite funny actually, because when we did the Kiss cruise, we actually played a show the night before. I think we played like 3 shows on the actual cruise itself. But the night before, we played in Miami with a couple of other bands, and it was kind of weird because we weren't sure what to expect, and even though the crowd was great, it was pretty obvious that no one really knew who the band was, which is kind of it was kind of one of those things. It's like we're either going to go out there and everyone's going to love it, or we're going to go out there and people are just going to be like, well, who are these guys? Which is kind of like how it was. But you know, we still had a great show, but it's a shame. Like I said, it's a shame they never got a push in the States, because they would have been huge.
I think they would have been too. and that's
all the ingredients, you know, that all those other bands had, you know. So it's a shame.
yeah, and they looked, you know, that's what I mean. That's what drew me to them originally. I think that was probably '87. I was like, oh man, those guys look cool. I want to hear this, but couldn't.
Yeah, me too. I was a little kid, and you know, when the Young and Crazy album came out, and I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, because I was so into, you know, all those bands, and what was really cool about it for me was in the UK there was no bands that looked like that in the UK that were doing anything anyway. You know, there might have been a few bands knocking around, but bands that kind of had that kind of Motley Crue, Poison thing going on. You know, over here in the UK, it always seemed to be kind of, I don't know, I don't think we ever really did that kind of style of music very well. It was always kind of more kind of like your classic rock, you know, bands like Thunder and stuff, like Whitesnake and stuff like that. But nailing that kind of American look and that American sound, it was great to have a band like Tigertailz, you know.
Yeah, and they were from Wales, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah, they're from Wales.
So cool.
So which kind of makes it even weirder, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's Wales doesn't, you know, you don't think of, especially you don't think of a band that looks like that, you know, to come out of Wales. It's just like, it's a weird kind of concept, really. So that kind of added something to it as well. You know, it's a very unique band, that's for sure.
Yes, it definitely was. And since we going back to Music for Nations, I actually bought a vinyl copy of Poison's "Look What the Cat Dragged In" that came from the UK, and it was on Music for Nations, because over here it was Enigma and then Capitol. But yeah, unfortunately I got robbed last year and it got taken. So, yeah.
That's not good. Yeah, they were the first album was Music for Nations over here, which was I think I've still got a copy of that somewhere, the Music for Nations one. But they got lucky, you know, because even in the States they were on the Enigma thing. Was kind of again an independent subsidiary of Capitol, and then come the second album they
were Capitol.
Boom, and then that was their massive breakthrough at that point. So
there was a couple bands like that. XYZ, their first album was on. I don't know if you're familiar with XYZ, but
of course.
Their first album was on Enigma, and then the second one's on Capitol, so it was kind of the same. I don't know how that all worked out, but...
And then there was Danger was another band that was...
Love them.
They were on a kind of subsidiary of...
they were on Imagine.
That's it. And
Imagine
then Screw It was Sony, and...
Yeah.
So quite a few bands had that kind of deal going on. Yeah,
because there was a band called called Blondes that were the guys.
Yeah, they were great.
The great band. I have that on vinyl too, and I've had Nathan, the singer, on the show, and love him. He's a great guy. And
that was a great album. You know, amazing. Miracles and Hands of Love and all that stuff. Yeah.
That's cool that you know that, Rob. That's.
Oh man, I'm like the walking encyclopedia of like the most obscure hair bands in the world.
I'm kind of that guy too. So that's cool. That's awesome. They get to talk about it.
I think we need to get a life, mate. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of the passion, right? Of what, you know,
that's
of those bands, right?
You got it.
Oh, that's cool. Now let's move to Midnite City. And it's funny that you just mentioned Danger, because I mean, as I listen to the band's material, of course I hear many 80s influences. I'm kind of curious of your influences, and like I said, Danger, I believe, is one of them. I myself am a huge fan, and for me, I've actually gotten to know Bruno and Steve and Ted and Rob over the years. I've had a few nights drinking with them, which has been really cool. And it's funny because it was on Give Me Love that I kind of heard that had a little bit of the first Danger. I kind of got that vibe from it, which was cool. So just give me an idea of, like, I mean, you kind of did touch on it, like the bands. We're talking about all these obscure hard rock, heavy metal bands. Kind of give me an idea of what other bands influenced you.
Yeah, I mean, you bang on with the Danger thing. I mean, we've put 2 albums out now, and I don't think there's a review that we've had without somebody mentioning Danger.
Yeah.
Because it's just so obvious, and I'm not going to get away from it because it's one of my all-time favorite bands, and same, I'm kind of in touch with Bruno as well. We kind of known each other for quite a few years now, going back way back when one of my old bands went on tour with them back in 2003, which is going way back a lot, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
But a huge Danger influence in there. It's just, even if I tried to write songs that didn't sound like Danger, they would just come out like that anyway, just because it's just in my blood. Yeah. I just love that band, and I grew up and just worship those albums. And so Danger, obviously a massive influence. I really loved, the early Bon Jovi stuff. The kind of like the first 4 albums. Me
too. Yep.
So big fan of Bon Jovi. Poison, again, what's not to love about Poison? Great songs, great melodies, great hooks. White Lion, Warrant, obviously Def Leppard in there as well. Yeah. So it's kind of a mix of all that kind of stuff, really. I think it's kind of, it's just kind of taking the best bits of all those bands and kind of mixing it all up, and that's kind of what we do in Midnite City, really. There's a bit of Kiss in there as well. 80s Kiss. I'm a massive Kiss fan. So
me too.
There's some sort of Crazy Nights influences in there slipped in. Yeah, so it's kind of a mix of all that, really, man.
That's awesome. Now, in terms of Danger albums, I have to ask this question: which one's your favorite?
See, I think you're going to say the first. I'm going to say Screw It is my favorite. It's a bit more. I love the first one. I still love it, but I think the second album just had a little bit more attitude about it. And Cockroach was great as well, but for me, it's got to be Screw It. With Crazy Nights.
Crazy Nights. Don't blame it on love.
Don't blame it on love and all that stuff.
Yep.
So how about you? Which is yours?
Well, Cockroach, and I've told Bruno this a million times. As far as I was concerned, I love Cockroach. I always told him, I said, you know what, that was like your Slippery When Wet. If that had come out, I think that album would have done really well if the timing was right. But Screw It's a close second, because I didn't have the first album. The first Danger album I bought was Screw It, because I thought they had gotten, at that time, I wasn't into the big keyboard thing, even though I loved Bon Jovi. So I was like, oh, they went a little bit heavier on Screw It. So I was like, that was the one I bought, and I loved it, and I've loved it ever since. So
yeah, they kind of went a little bit more sort of, because the first album is very, very AOR, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very sort of, it's almost like a little bit, there's a little bit of Survivor in that first album. And then Screw It's kind of more, it's getting into the more sort of the Warrant, Skid Row type of sound in places. So, and I was just saying that the first album I heard was actually the Screw It album, so I actually had to backtrack and get the first one.
And I was the same.
But how that band went absolutely huge, I will never know. I mean, they had every ingredient. They looked great songs. Just they had every ingredient to be huge. It's criminal that they weren't really.
I agree, and now I love the Last Defiance album. I don't know.
Both albums are good. Yeah. I think the second one's a little bit better. So
I agree.
I'm digging that.
Yeah, and I just got confirmation yesterday that my vinyl of that is in the mail.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to see the vinyl of that. And last year I got the first album, they reissued it on blue vinyl. The first Danger. So that came. I haven't even opened it because I have 3 copies of it on vinyl now. I have 2 original ones and then that blue one. So I'm never going to open it. Which is kind of
nice.
Cool. Yeah. And actually, I asked Bruno about what vinyls he had of Danger, and most of he's like, you know what, I've never played them. He's like, I won't play them, which I thought was really cool. of his own material. So that's kind of an awesome thing.
we did a couple of Tigertailz vinyls. We did an EP a few years ago called
I remember that.
And then we did in 2016, which was kind of a strange idea, but it was to sort of commemorate the 30-year anniversary of the first EP, which I'm pretty sure that you guys won't have got, but it was a 3-track EP.
Oh.
Had Shoot to Kill, She's Too Hot, and Living Without You on it.
Now,
and this is with Stevie on,
right.
Stevie singing, and we basically re-recorded those songs with the new lineup.
I remember that.
And we sort of recreated the artwork from back in the day, and that came out on vinyl. But again, like, I haven't played it either. It's on a frame on my wall.
That's cool.
But I've never actually played it myself, so it's kind of a weird thing.
You know what was the hardest thing with Tigertailz stuff is that when you factor, like, I've wanted to order T-shirts, I wanted to order like the vinyls, but when you factor in the exchange and then the shipping to North America, it's like, oh man, it's crazy. It's crazy to ship over to North America. So that stuff that I've always wanted, it's just been hard to get because it's like, oh man, it's like I'm looking at like $100 Canadian almost to get that stuff. So
it's a lot of money.
It is, but like sometimes you bite the bullet and sometimes you don't. It just depends how much money you have at the time, right? So
exactly, man. Yeah.
Now let's talk about your upcoming Midnite City pay-per-view event titled Lockdown Showdown on December 19th. What's kind of the premise of that whole thing, and how can people get to watch it?
Well, I mean, this year has just been, a disaster for every musician and band on the planet. I mean, we had so much planned for this year. I mean, so many great shows. We were really, really lucky that we went out to Australia in March, literally like a week before everything kicked off and the UK went into lockdown. So we were lucky enough to go out and play. We played 2 shows out in Australia, which was just insanely, just such a great time,
Yeah.
But then pretty much everything after that got cancelled, so our entire year got scrubbed out. We did, however, manage to record our 3rd album, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But we kind of figured as the year was coming to an end, we really wanted to do something just for our fans, really, to give them something to kind of to watch, because I think a lot of we've got a lot of real diehard Midnite City fans who love coming out to see us play and have really missed us playing. So a couple of weeks ago we shot a full live show. We hired a really cool venue here in the UK. A big venue, big stage, cool. And we basically just played a gig and recorded the whole gig. And we also did, we recorded a bunch of interviews with each member of the band talking about our new album and what we've been up to this year. And the whole thing's going to be streamed on, like I say, on December the 19th at 9 p.m. UK time. So
4 o'clock
that'll be
for me.
There you go, 4 o'clock for you guys.
Yeah.
And different times around the world. But yeah, there's a link. If you just go on our Facebook page, there's a link to buy tickets. Just click on the link and pay for the ticket, and it'll just send you an email with a link to watch. So you just click on it on the night and check it out. But more than anything, it was just kind of like a bit of a thank you to our fans for kind of sticking with us through, obviously through no fault of our own, but we just wanted to just give something back, really. And it was cool for us, because we literally hadn't played together since we went to Australia, and played together in like 8 months or something. So it was nice to kind of dust off the cobwebs and play the songs. It was a cool thing. So yeah, tickets are selling really well for it. So yeah, check it out.
I'm going to try and do my best to watch that.
Cool, you'll enjoy it. There's a lot of danger in there.
Cool, I love it. Now, the new album, which is coming forth. It's You Can't Scratch, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
Right on. It's on, again, on Roulette AOR Heaven label, German label. Same as the previous two albums. Tell me about the relationship with that label. It seems that they give you guys quite a bit of freedom in terms of the band's sound, it seems.
Yeah, they did. The new album's actually on it. We've actually switched labels.
Oh, you did? So okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but it's all right, don't worry. We did the first two albums with AOR Heaven. Yeah. A great label, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. German label. They did well. We put out two albums with them, but we kind of felt sort of moving forward that we needed a bit more of a push on this album. And I think as great as AOR Heaven is, they sign a lot of bands, maybe too many bands, rather than kind of signing slightly less and kind of working those bands a bit more. Which is kind of what we found, especially on the second album. There's obviously no issues there. I mean, we just basically signed with them per album. So, we didn't have an ongoing contract with them or anything like that. So, a company called Roulette Media and Roulette Records got in touch with us kind of like over the summer, and we started talking about the next album, and we just felt that they were just the right label to be going with, because it's a full team of people. It's not just kind of one guy running the ship. It's a full team of people working for the bands they sign, and they're signing kind of fewer bands, but really concentrating on pushing those bands, which is basically kind of music to our ears. So. We signed to them over the summer. I think it was August, and we're at the minute we're kind of busy having meetings all the time about kind of planning, the album release and pre-orders and what we're going to be doing next year, and videos and stuff like that. So it's even though it kind of might seem that we're not busy, we actually are really busy behind the scenes, making it all happen and getting it all ready.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. I guess when I did my homework, I put, because I said Roulette, okay. AOR Heaven, but that's two different labels, and that was my screw up in doing my homework. Oh,
that's all right, man. It doesn't matter. I mean, to be honest, we not really. I think we put out an announcement not long ago that we switched labels, but it's an easy mistake to make. I think quite a lot of people probably think we're still with the old label, but yeah. Like I said, it was just for us. There was no issues with AOR Heaven. We just felt that we just wanted just a bit more of a push.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, and you hear things about Frontiers in the same way, where they sign so many bands that the album comes out, and they get they'll give them a couple videos. There's a little bit of a push, and then all of a sudden it's just gone.
Well, that's what it is, and funnily enough, over the summer, Frontiers actually offered us a deal. They actually offered us a 5-album deal over the summer, which initially sounded great, but again, when you kind of look behind it and kind of look into the contracts and stuff, it's it was definitely so. At one point, it was kind of we were kind of hedging our bets against Roulette against Frontiers and stuff like that, but Roulette just seemed, like I say, it's a bunch of people who are all kind of really dedicated to the bands. They don't sign bands unless they really believe that they can make them successful, which great. Is rather than, like you say, the other labels that will just kind of sign everything that's happening and just kind of hope for the best, So that was, again, one of the main reasons we kind of turned down the Frontiers thing and went with Roulette. So, so far so good with them. So we're hoping everything's gonna work out.
Yeah, that's all you hope for, right? I mean, Frontiers puts out a lot of great material. Crazy Licks has done 4 or 5 albums with them, but it's the same thing. That album will come out, and then all of a sudden, you're like, where'd it go?
Yeah, this kind of is annoying, and that happens a lot with, there's some other bands that, I'm friends with some of the guys that are on, in bands that are on Frontiers, and the same thing, some of them are lucky enough if they get one video, and then, like 2 weeks later, it's that, as far as they're concerned, that album's done, and it's kind of, okay, well, you can make the best album in the world, but if someone isn't going to get behind it and push it, then, you're only going to get so far with it, So we figured it was worth taking a chance and just trying something new on this one.
Yeah, and I mean, for guys like us that are big fans of that, we kind of want to see that push where maybe this stuff starts coming back, where more fans are getting to hear it and realizing how great it is. So
yeah, exactly.
You want to see the labels pushing this stuff and like really, giving it its due, more or less, right? And instead of just, here's an album, it's great, and then it's forgotten, and I hate to see that. So hopefully with Roulette, you guys will, you'll have that good relationship with them, and they're gonna give you a little bit more push that I think you truly deserve. So
yeah, we're having marketing meetings and all kinds of good stuff. I mean, we're actually going to be doing the first video is actually going to be coming out on January 22nd.
Cool.
First single, first video, and there's going to be another 3 videos before the album comes out. So there's basically going to be 4 singles before the album comes out.
Wow,
so
that's cool.
There's going to be exactly. We're kind of really building it up as well before the album comes out as well, rather than just releasing the album with a video. We're actually doing a lot of stuff beforehand.
Well, I'll try my best to do a review of it on Sleaze Rocks. I don't do them as much as I used to, but sometimes I try to get a few in there when I can.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'll try my best.
Yeah, and I think the pre-orders for it start January 15th.
Okay,
so,
we'll watch for that.
So things will be even though the album's not going to be out for a while, things will be happening kind of pretty soon, in the new year. So
that's awesome.
We just got back the final edit for the first video, which is, like I said, coming out in January, and it looks absolutely killer. Really, really cool video. So we're all really excited about it. It's going to be great.
That's awesome. Now with this new album, has much changed from the previous two? Sometimes bands go, like we spoke about Danger Dangers, bands go a little bit heavier or may change slightly stylistically. What was your approach on this one?
That's a good question. It was kind of a little bit weird, really, because, the first 2 albums are they're very similar sounding albums. It's kind of, I think, on the second album, we kind of did what we did on the first album, but just kind of just took it up a few notches. With this album, I think if we took the last album up a couple of notches, this one's gone up about 20 notches.
Cool.
So it's cool. I mean, it's a little bit different. There's a couple of heavier songs on the album. In fact, the first single, which is a song called Crawling in the Dirt, which is almost kind of bordering on a little bit, he talks about the cockroach thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost
cool.
That kind of still kicking type
that's
style.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of early Skid Row on that track as well. And so there's a couple of those songs on the album which are kind of a little bit tougher, a little bit heavier, maybe a little bit like sleazier in places as well. There's a song on the album called They Only Come Out at Night, which is going to be another single and a video, and that just kind of it almost sounds like it could be on the Lost Boys soundtrack or something.
Oh wow,
it's kind of
that's neat.
Just sounds like nothing we've ever done before.
Yeah.
It's got like kids doing like creepy kids singing in the background and stuff, and it's kind of like nothing we've ever done before. But then there's still your classic kind of Midnite City kind of happy pop rock songs on there. There's a couple of big power ballads.
Great.
So it's kind of a Midnite City album, but it's definitely different. And my girlfriend who listened to it the first time the other day, and she said, it actually does sound quite different, but in a good way. It's still, it's still you, but it's kind of, you can see that you're evolving a little bit as well, which I think is always important. I think you just,
Definitely.
as long as you better what you've done from the previous album, and we're all really, really proud of this album, especially, how it was recorded as well, with this time around with everything going on with the pandemic and stuff. The album was actually completely recorded in 5 different studios.
Wow.
Whereas the previous 2 albums, myself and Pete would work really closely together in the studio, but this time it was just all done, remotely and then put together. So it was kind of recorded it was written in a different way, recorded in a different way, and I think the results speak for themselves, really.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear it. I'm looking forward to it.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Now, I'm going to let you go in a second. Took up quite a bit of your time, and I really appreciate that. But there was something I was reading, and I found it interesting that the first 3 demos that you did to get the record deal with AOR Heaven were mastered by Harum Scarum lead vocalist Harry Hess, which I thought was cool because I'm a huge Harum Scarum fan. How was it that those came all the way over to Canada to be mastered?
Well, that was down to Pete Newdeck, our drummer, and Pete also produces and mixes and engineers the Midnite City albums, and Pete's actually really good friends. It's a really good friend of Harry's.
Okay.
So that's their connection. They've kind of known each other for years, and Pete does a lot of as well as the Midnite City stuff. Pete's got a studio in his house, and he's constantly mixing albums and producing albums. He's kind of, he's always doing something, So as soon as he's finished Midnite City, he's on to somebody else, and he does a lot of that stuff. And Harry is his go-to guy, for when it comes to mastering. So so the first 2 albums were mastered by Harry, and the new one is, so once Pete's done with the mix, once Pete's happy with how everything sounds, then he kind of flies it over to Harry, and he does his thing, and so it's kind of like a cool little thing. But it's just because they're friends, they've been friends for a long time. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that's a kind of connection there. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Harum Scarum, that band, is actually from more or less the town that I live in. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So,
I forgot they were a Canadian band. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So up the street is where Pete Lesperance, the guitar player, actually went to high school up the street from me. So. And
that's cool.
The drummer Darren Smith, who is also in Red Dragon Cartel, he lives in town here, and I occasionally see him, around at gigs and stuff like that. So, So every time I see anything, yeah, exactly. Anytime I see Harum Scarum, I'm always, like, oh, Harum Scarum, well, that's cool. So that's why I kind of had to ask that question. Anyways, man, oh, sorry, go ahead.
A lot of people ask that question, and it's they kind of I think there's a lot of Harum Scarum fans out there. So
there is, and it's funny. It's funny because here, no one. There's the fan base, but it's not a huge thing. It's crazy. It's like this is such a great Canadian band, and our
I agree.
Our hard rock scene in Canada is very minimal. So it's not like it was 25, 30 years ago, unfortunately.
Yeah, you had some decent bands. I remember Slick Toxic was from Canada, weren't they?
Yes, they were. And Kevin Gale actually is the guitar player, is a very good friend of mine. And I'm just in the process of finishing up his autobiography. I wrote that. Cool. I wrote that with him. So I think 2 episodes ago, I had him and Neil Busby, the drummer, on the show, and we did 2 episodes talking about their albums. So we just went through track by track, which was pretty cool. And it's cool that you mentioned them. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was a big fan. Yeah, they were kind of like they kind of just reminded me of They were kind of like the Canadian Skid Row, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Cool.
I will let Kevin know that we talked about stuff toxic today. So
absolutely.
Anyways, man, I really want to thank you for coming on the show, and I'd love to do it again maybe after the album comes out, and we can kind of talk more about the album, so that, you know, like, just to go through it if you're cool with that.
Absolutely, yeah, that'd be great. Like
okay.
I say, we I can't actually give the release date yet, but when the pre-orders start on January 15th,
okay,
that's when the actual release date will go up. So it's kind of like going to be sort of kind of the beginning half of the year. So yeah, once it's out, we'll have to chat again, and
absolutely,
and we can talk, you know, more obscure hair metal together.
Oh, I'm totally into that. That would be awesome. Yeah. Okay, man. Well, you have a great night, and we'll talk soon.
All right, bud. Thanks for having me on your show.
No problem, Rob. Take care.
All right, buddy.
Okay, bye.
I remember when we used to say that we never grow up. We'd be young forever, baby. Time will never catch us up. It's so funny when I look back now, 'cause nothing's really changed. Just a little bit